Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading session. So the market's just opening up after yesterday's rather impressive rally, actually. The market plodding along right from the open, painfully slow, but a strong day all the same. Very quiet through the overnight, as you can see. And here we are with the NASDAQ, pretty much taking over from where we left off yesterday. All right, actually we are getting a counter-trend signal here already, are we not? On the Raptor, we're getting a red bar buy here on the Hawk. I was just looking at crude oil and the euro dollar as well, and both of those are kind of very sideways, especially the euro dollar, which is a little unusual. It was trending pretty well yesterday too. All right, so we got a couple of doable trades here. If you wanted, you could, I believe it's safer trying to short the red bar buy, in which case you could do one of those. We have a similar signal here on the Raptor, and we do have an opportunity for a second push entry on this one as well. Stephen asks one of life's great mysteries here. He says, good morning, E. Hey, good morning, Steve. Why is the NASDAQ going down and the S&P and YM going up? How can that happen? I know, it's weird, isn't it? Of course, the NASDAQ follows a different set of stocks. Traditionally, they tend to be more tech stocks. And the S&P and certainly the YM, the mini Dow, follow more brick and mortar type businesses. Normally, everything is in sync, no question about it. But occasionally, the NASDAQ and the other stock markets will be at odds. Some people feel the NASDAQ moves first. Some people feel the stock market or the rest of the stock market moves first. I do know that when they are in sync, the moves tend to be a little bit smoother, a little bit more follow through on everything. But yeah, it's just the way it is. You know, if people are bidding it up, bidding it down, it's all traders' perception. All right, so we got a couple of simultaneous fills here. So we sold the Hawk, sold the Raptor. And after yesterday, I think I'm just going to go all in, all out on target. All right. Okay, so this level that we're trying to short, pretty significant level. We do have a trend change signal on the Falcon as well, so 3 out of the 4 charts looking a little bit more bearish. So here on the Falcon, you again have the opportunity for a second push entry. It's essentially going to make all the trades the same. Sure, why not here? Toward the close yesterday, you could see there was a little bit of profit taking. So traders a little bit unsure of the overnight, and the overnight very quiet as well. Yeah, Tony says a mighty quiet opening. That's kind of been the theme of late. All right, so I'm either going to do well here or I'm going to get rocked pretty hard. Okay, should almost be to our hawk target, and we have hit the break-even trigger on this trade. Okay, so the hawk trade hit the profit target. Hooray for us. I rolled my break-even triggers just a little bit further. There may be a little bit of a reaction here. Why do I say that? Well, we've got this low right here. Near our first profit target, and there could be a little bit of a bounce off of that. I was looking at the euro dollar here, thinking there might be something tradable, but ugh, what a sideways mess this is. So when you open up your chart and you see something like this, all these yellow bars, all these signals printing without any real follow through, it's time to really take a back seat and take the, well, if you'll excuse the pun, a bird's eye view and recognize that you're in a rather large trading range. Now, trading ranges like this are tradable, to be sure. You could look at buying the bottom end, kind of the bottom third, bottom quarter. You can try to sell the top third, top quarter. You should consider, smaller profit targets, maybe like a scalp target even. However, the safest plan of action is to let the market get out, retest, and then look for that signal. I know you hear me say it all the time, but it is the safest thing to do, and yet as traders, we so often shoot ourselves in the foot doing things the hard way. Okay, I think my profit target has been filled. Good. Okay, so we hit the profit objective on the Falcon, and we've hit our first profit target on the Raptor. And now we are looking to get past the hard edge here, and maybe, well, our first target after the primary support, which is sitting at 56.23.5, is going to be 56.14.5, 56.06.5, or 05, pardon me, 56.05.5. That would be a stellar move. Oops, sorry. That would be a 3-zone move. That's what we saw yesterday, I think. 3 or 4 zones coming up. So there's the open 1, 2, 3, 4 zones. Crude oil also looking a little bit top heavy. We got a sell signal just around the market open, our cloud crossover signal. If you were late for that, you did get a second chance right here. You could consider this a double pullback even. And so we've fallen off one zone, which I believe puts us near yesterday's lows. So that large rally that we saw in crude oil has since reversed on itself. Well, large rally. Crude oil hasn't done any large rallies of late. So I've got a runner in play here on the Raptor. If you're going to have a runner in play, as difficult as it is, you need to be conservative with your stops. By that I mean don't pinch the market too tight until you've got, at least until you've got a rather uncomfortable amount in open profit. People always ask me, hey Eric, how come you blank out your P&L? It's because I want to keep a clear head. I want to make a decision based on what's going on the chart, because you know full well if you have that up, you're not looking down here. You're looking up here. You're watching the dollars tick by. And you can't make a clear decision if you're concentrating on the P&L. What I was going to say though is if you're not prepared to keep your stops a little bit further away, you may as well take all your profit on target. Otherwise, what's the point of trailing a stop? Oh, Floyd says the mid cap is getting a little traction, moving again. Is it going up or down, Floyd? The mid cap actually a very nice market to follow. I'll put it up here so you guys can see it. Just a moment. I used to follow the mid cap a little more closely than I do now. So here's the mid cap on the Raptor. It looks like they tailed off very nicely as well. At $10 a tick, it's not an outrageously expensive market to trade. can see you could have covered the trade pretty much for the same money as we did on the NASDAQ trade. However, on the NASDAQ, I did get the opportunity to run 2 contracts. So that's a little bit of a bonus. Here was yesterday's mid-cap. You can see once the mid-cap commits, there's not usually a whole lot of choppiness involved. Oh, sure. No sooner do I say that than we hit a little bit of a choppy streak. But you can see it makes some very, very nice moves. It is a little thinner, but not so much so that slippage should be a real problem. I don't think I ever encountered any really bad slippage in the mid-cap. Certainly nothing like what you might experience in a market like crude oil. Back in the old days, anyways, crude oil quite benign now. Hey, way to go, Floyd. Floyd says picked up $700 on 2 contracts on that nice little move in the mid-cap. Well done. My stop is a little cozy at break even here. I'm hoping the market isn't going to look too far back before it tries its next leg lower. And how do I know I'm going to get another leg lower? Well, we breached this support level right here. And it looks like a fairly obvious support level. So when the market starts breaching significant support, or in the case of a downtrend, significant resistance, you can probably expect 2 moves in the direction of the breakout. So here's move number 1. That's the breakout move. The market owes me 1 more. Now, whether it will be a big move or a little move, that I can't tell you, but I'm confident we will see 1 more push lower. So I'm just checking some of the news that's out there, trying to get a handle on what's going on here this morning. And it seems like a lot of the news is focusing on the French elections, and they're blaming those for the quiet stock markets. Interesting. I guess some of the candidates are heavily opposed to the European Union, so we may see that break up in the future. Wow. on. Come on down. They're thinking about it. They're kind of stuck here. All right, well, I think I will start to roll stops. Actually, I'll hold it right there for one more bar. Okay. Now, parabolics, is just my own personal preference. You could certainly go with an ATR type strategy like super trend. It's going to be more or less in the same neighborhood as will the ATR. Practically, they're all going to give you approximately the same stop at this point. However, as the market picks up a little bit more in open profit, you'll see the parabolics tend to be a little bit more aggressive. Not always a good thing. You can see here the parabolics would have stopped me out right here. An ATR stop would have gained me another couple of ticks before it eventually stopped me out. People always concerned about what is the best stop. There is no such thing. It depends on you really. How anxious are you for your open profit? And there's no right answer there. It's not a judgment. It's just if you are more anxious about this open profit. So right now I've got $50 locked in, but I could take 100 with a tighter stop. And it looks like, we've printed at least one rally bar here. We're probably going to get another. So if you're anxious about the extra $20 or $30, just hit the close button. And again, that's not a judgment. That's just a fact. You don't need to answer to anyone about your trading, least of all me. Well, maybe your spouse. But ultimately, you're the one responsible. I think that's what makes people very uncomfortable about trading as well. There's no one to blame. There's something to be said for teamwork because there's always somebody to blame. All right, so I got tagged on that little bit of a reverse. What did I finally? Oh, good. I picked up another $10 anyways. Not a bad trade. Okay, just gonna do a little bookkeeping. Bear with me. Yeah, can always go Tony's route. Tony says jokingly here. Don't tell your spouse anything. I suppose, especially about your losing trades, right? All right, so we're back into the hard edge now. We might see a little bit of a reaction here. The tone of the day does seem to be a little bit more on the bear side, however. maybe going to get a late filter entry here in the Falcon. You can see our trend line still holding. It's still red. However, the filter already turning green. We do need that filter to come back into sync, and of course we need to generate a signal before we can get serious about shorting, but it is teeing up that way. Personally, I think we may see a retrace here, at least to the median line, 56.32.5, taking a little bit of a bounce off of the primary support as well as the hard edge on the Eagle and the Raptor. Really nothing to do but watch and wait. Yes, I know it's boring, but there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah, uh, Tony saying, tell us a story. it's um, it's crazy slow. It is crazy slow. I got on a little bit late. I was looking at the euro. I'll show you that in a moment. But before I do, this bar, oh, sorry, this bar has been 20 minutes in the making. I don't know if I said it out loud when I was looking at the euro, but I was looking for it to decline. And we got a very nice move lower, very nice breakout to the short side. The reason I was thinking short was because we were making lower highs. And we kept, beating up on the lows, and we kept making lower highs. So I thought, well, if it's going to break, it may well break through the short side. And it did, in fact, do that. Not a monster move, but still a decent enough little move. Pick up a few dollars. But that has since passed, and now it too is content just to do nothing. Mark says, on one of my other charts, we're hovering right at the point of control on this current bar. Well, that could also explain why things are a little bit lackluster, shall we say? For those of you who don't know what Mark's talking about, I may as well take the time to explain market profile. Really, the point of control way up here, Mark. That surprises me. The whole notion of market profile is that the market tends to stay within 70% of its daily ranges. So for instance, if this was your, here, let's do it like this. Here's your daily range. And if you were trying to eyeball, say, 70% of this range, you would probably draw something like this. And what you're taking into consideration are these areas as well that, you know, obviously there was a lot of trading going on here, even though the market didn't just continue higher. It's not simply taking the high and the low and figuring out 70% of that. If there was more trading going on here on the bottom half, you may well draw your range more like this. In fact, that actually doesn't look that bad either. So there are programs and such that will calculate these ranges for you based on the volume and so on and so forth. The notion is that the next day, the market is going to favor this price zone through here because this comprised essentially 3/4 of the prior day's trading. If prices stay out of this zone, they will have a tendency to accelerate and move higher. If they get below the zone, they'll have a tendency to head lower. If they get back into the zone, they will have, excuse me, a tendency to retrace the zone. That's why people watch these things, okay? The point of control is that price level that had the most volume associated with it, essentially the most popular price of the day. So in our instance, this could be the point of control right through here. Actually, that gets confusing with the bar color. 1 second. Let's make it a nice light pink. There we go. All right, so this could be our point of control. So what would happen is if prices came back down and got near this point of control, we would expect some sort of reaction there. After all, this was the most influential price of the day before, volume-wise. Now there's something to be said for it. Like most things trading related, it works until it doesn't work. But still, it kind of gives you an idea what we might expect. So Mark's saying, according to his software, the point of control is right around there, which is interesting because given the rally yesterday, that means this price level around the 56.30 area was the highest volume price traded on the day. And by highest volume, I mean greatest volume. Greatest volume was traded around the 56.30 mark. So what does that tell you? That tells me that a whole lot of traders got out of their positions at 56.30 and nobody wanted to hold. Normally you would anticipate, maybe if I were to eyeball it, I would stay a price like this because there was some buying, or pardon me, some selling and buying going on here, a little bit more buying. Obviously there was some buying through here as more traders got in, a little bit more buying here as of the close. So I would have paid maybe 56.25. But it's looking like this was the most active price traded yesterday. Interesting. Okay, Mark says specifically 56.27 quarter or 3/4 is the price that he has for his point of control. Again, it was going into the close, so that would suggest a lot of traders not prepared to hold. A lot of traders were ditching. If I were to draw, just kind of eyeball what my 70% on today's range would be, it would actually be fairly broad. I think it would look something more like this. So the market opening here, right, this is the overnight. So we're essentially working from this range to this range here. How did I do, Mark? Is that close to yours? A lot of times, if you're interested in this sort of stuff, there's lots to read about it, and it can become a rabbit hole, so I warn you. But a lot of times you can eyeball your ranges as well. That's just a little bit of common sense. You just kind of look at your chart and you think, all right, well, where was most of the trading going on? It wasn't down here. It wasn't up here. It seems like it was through here. Mark says my guesstimate was not too far off. Daniel's asking, do we have a hard edge bounce on the Eagle? Well, quite possibly. We're definitely in the hard edge. We are producing a green warning dot. We don't have the completed signal just yet. We are against the ATR. And I am a little concerned about the break of the support there. I am concerned that maybe this is a little bit of a double top here. Here's something else that tends to happen. We see these types of formations. Traders refer to them as expanding triangles. Some traders will call them megaphones. They do tend to develop as a market is getting in reversal mode. Some traders also refer to another formation. You don't hear about it very often. It's called a diamond pattern. And it develops, again, when a market tends to reverse. It's not all that common. But it always begins with an expanding market, where the highs and the lows aren't seeing much follow through. So it is possible, Daniel, but not confirmed as yet. Somebody's Skyping me. I'm busy. Russell asking about the 4-arrow consolidation. I was waiting for somebody to pick that one up here on the Hawk. We've got a rather sloppy 4-arrow consolidation. One, two, three, four right here. It is doable, Russell. I'm just not sure that we're finished with the pullback yet. So that leaves me with the rather deep stop scenario, which is kind of annoying. I think I might wait for it to come back into sync. I do think the sellers have the upper hand, but honestly, as slow as everything has been here this morning, I'm pretty happy to be sitting on my hands. Had a couple good trades. And it almost seems like that was it. That was the move of the day, or certainly the move of the morning, or so it seems right now. I tell you, folks, these last couple of weeks of trading have been among the most difficult I have ever traded through. So if you're finding trading a little bit overwhelming at this point, take heart, because it has been some pretty tough slogging the last few weeks. You know, looking here at the Raptor, the last half hour, we've only produced 2 bars. All right, so it's a little tighter 4-arrow consolidation now. I'm not going to take it, but I will highlight it. You could get by with a slightly tighter stop, maybe here to the crest and the macro line. That might be a little nicer. It's all about the stop. You can make almost any entry work if your stop is far enough back. Yeah, Tony says it's like mid-December. It's so slow. It's like middle of August. Oh my gosh, if it's like this in the spring, what's it going to be like in the summer? Good opportunity for a second push on this one. I don't think we're missing anything else, are we? No, not yet. The Raptor's going to be a few bars before we get a hard edge bounce. let's go back to the action here on the NASDAQ, and it looks like it kissed my order, so we would be short. I do think it'll work out. You know, a scalp is usually a pretty realistic target. If I can get at least 1 or 2 bars to form in my favor, I'll be pretty quick to get my stops down in case they decide they want to reverse on that. Yeah, you're right, Tony. Tony says we've yet to see the first in-sync eagle signal. And, you know, the longer it takes to produce, I'm not sure I want to bite. What Tony's referring to is actually something that Russell pointed out to me, well, several months ago now. Russell noted that the first eagle signal on the day tended to have some pretty decent follow-through to it. You can see yesterday, very good example. And we're talking the first in-sync signal. So we're not talking about a signal that's a little bit convoluted, but the first, you know, nice clean signal. Here was actually a rule of 3 on the eagle that did work out, although technically I suppose that's not an in-sync signal. Here, the day before that, you know, very good follow through. Day before that, pretty much a jumbled mess. I suppose this was the first in-sync signal, but you can see it didn't go anywhere. So it does have a good track record, but it is not 100%. Here's another one, first in-sync signal. Buyers get busy. And here another day where about 20 minutes, it looks like, into the session, printed a signal, but it didn't end up going anywhere. Look at some of these gaps that we have yet to fill. Ain't that something? All right, so that 4-arrow consolidation not working out very well. But we have gotten our retrace here back to the median line. We'll see what that does for us. Speaking of first instinct signal, I guess it printed right here. This is our red bar buy signal. I don't know. I honestly don't. Will the market try to recover the trend and put in yet a new high? I'm not sure we're going to see the market break 5640 today. Certainly it could. If you chose to take this signal, and it is a valid signal, you may want to run a slightly tighter profit objective. We'll leave that up. I'll see if it goes anywhere. Like I said, though, try not to be too frustrated with yourself, because this is some of the most difficult trading that I can remember for a very, very long time. So if you can make it through this, when the market gets busy, it'll seem like shooting fish in a barrel. Across the board, we're actually looking a little bit stronger now. The hawk working a first micro macro cross signal. We've got the warning dot, not the completed signal just yet. Trend change signal has triggered here in the Falcon, and that one is official. I don't know, maybe we will be in for a little bit of a rally. As a trading friend of mine used to say, the big money is always on the surprise side. Well, they're continuing to press higher. We do have the first micro-macro cross now on the hawk. It's official. But you know what, folks? It is just so terribly slow. If you are going to take this trade, you know, maybe things will loosen up a little bit going into the lunch hour. I don't know. Looks like you got to run a reasonably tight stop to make it work. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to take it. In fact, you know, we're near the top of the hour. I think we're going to button up things for the day. We'll get together again tomorrow. Hopefully, the market will start to loosen up a little bit, but I don't know, maybe that article I was reading was right. Maybe we can blame it all on the French. Just kidding, just kidding. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow then. All right, bye for now.